So you want to have success in school. It's not going to come easy, but with some work and doing it the right way, it's not nearly as hard as what you think it is. So let's start with a few things that have nothing to do with what you're learning right now that are going to help you have success in school. Simple planning and organization. You have to commit to using a planner, an agenda, an organizer of some kind. Because if you're not keeping up with what's going on in your life, if you're not keeping up with when you do or don't have practice, if you're not keeping up with when a certain assignment is due or when you have a test, you are already at a disadvantage because you don't know that something is coming. If you forgot that you have a test and you're not studying, then there's no way that you're going to be able to be prepared. So planning and organization is key. Now, let's think about the actual organization side of what you're doing. I want you to think about your binder. I want you to think about your locker. I want you to think about your bedroom and what it looks like. If your binder, if your locker looks like Office Depot exploded, then you probably need to try again. Let's look at some examples here of what a bad binder looks like and what a good binder looks like. So the moral of the story is you need to know where your stuff is, and knowing that it's maybe in the binder isn't enough. Okay, it's got to be organized, it's got to be accessible, you've got to know where it is. So not only be planning, use your agenda, okay, keep your stuff organized. Okay, let's talk about study habits. There will be several videos later that talk about study methods. That's what you're doing to study. Study habits are more of the things that are going on, the auxiliary things, while you're trying to study. So here's some good habits. First of all, know your distractions. Know your distractions and get them out of the way. Number one is your phone. Most of you have a cell phone and you are not self-disciplined enough to have it with you but not look at it. You have to remove distractions starting with your phone. If you cannot have it in the room, you need to give it to mom, you need to give it to dad, you need to get it out of where you are while you're studying. Coach Lovett, I like to use apps or whatever while I'm studying. That's a dangerous game at this age, but if you can legitimately use it, you need to turn off notifications. You need to silence it. You need to make it so that every time you get a notification, which is every 10 seconds, you're not checking your phone. Be self-disciplined. Remove distractions starting with your phone. Maybe it's TV. Maybe it's the fact that you have the wrong kind of music playing. Whatever it is that's keeping you from focusing, remove those from your study process. Let's talk location and environment. So when you're trying to study, where you are studying can be as important as anything else. Most of you are probably at a kitchen table or maybe in an office at home or maybe in your bedroom. Wherever your location is, try your best to get, again, away from distraction. So if you are in your bedroom and that's the place that you go where you're hanging out, that's where your favorite things are, and you have an option to go somewhere else that's maybe quieter, like a library or a home office, or maybe a kitchen table before brother and sister get home from practice, whatever it is, try to remove those distractions from your environment, or choose an environment that is void of those things, that doesn't have those things. So if you know that you can only study in your bedroom and that's where the distracting things are, try to remove those. Don't have the TV on, don't have the radio blaring. Okay, try to make good decisions in that environment. Okay, let's talk about study music, because I am a proponent of study music. The problem is it shouldn't sound like this. Baby shark, do, 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 do. Or this. Study music is meant to enhance or to help you focus while you're preparing. So try to avoid anything that's got catchy lyrics or it's music that you recreationally enjoy, something that you choose to listen to. Start with something that is helping you to focus in on the task at hand. I like to play Alpha Waves. It's just a track. I can YouTube search Alpha Waves. It's just sound to fill that silent void, because silence can be distracting. Classical music can be good too, but again, if you start to notice a discernible rhythm in classical music and you're paying attention to that and you're not really focusing, you may want to try again. If that doesn't distract you, yeah, go for it. But I would definitely say choose a type of music that is going to benefit or enhance your study process. Okay, a few more techniques to help you be successful in school. Focus on your weaknesses. It is easy to sit down, to prepare, to study, whatever, and take the easy road. Okay, by human nature, we want to take the path of least resistance. That's not good. Almost never is that good, especially if you sit down to study. You want to try to focus or hone in on the parts that are most difficult and start with those. So focus in on the parts that are most difficult, focus on your weaknesses, and then come back to your strengths. Okay, another helpful tip is if you are legitimately trying to study, do a little bit at a time, okay? Focus on making small goals along the way and give yourself a little break. Now, here's what you shouldn't do. I had a student one time tell me, I like to study while I'm watching TV.
Nope.
That's a bad idea. And I told them that. And they said, no, I don't think you understand. I'll watch a show, and then every time there's a commercial break, I will study during the commercial, and then I'll watch the show. And I'm like, that's not what I mean by take little breaks, because you're watching a show for increments of 8 minutes or so, and then you're taking 2 minutes to study. You never get a train of thought going long enough to make that work. What you need to be doing is you need to be studying for a set amount of time. Go ahead and start smaller, maybe 30 minutes, really focus in. And then it's okay to give yourself a nice little 5-minute or maybe even a 10-minute break if you're really being diligent. Set smaller incremental goals, and then as you grow and become more conditioned in it, extend that period a little bit longer, but don't be afraid to take smaller breaks. But we are assuming here that you are diligently trying to study along the way. Okay, let's touch a little bit on the goals thing. So a minute ago I was talking about smaller incremental goals. You definitely need to have big picture goals, because if you don't know where you're trying to go, then you're never going to get there. Of course, we all want to make good grades on the test, but that's really not what school's about. A test or a quiz is just an assessment to try to gauge how much a student is learning. So the goal here is to be learning. You need to set a major goal for yourself of, okay, these are the things that I want to try to accomplish, and maybe more importantly, have accountability for those goals. Mom and dad will get on board with you setting goals. If you can set goals for yourself, they will help hold you accountable. Maybe your friends, to some degree your teachers, but the people that are in your life the most in the longest amounts of time, yeah, especially when you're studying, are going to be your parents, maybe brothers and sisters, but try to find somebody that's going to help hold you accountable, because if you set a goal for yourself, you know what you're aiming at, and you've got somebody to help hold you accountable, you are much more likely to attain that goal. All right, one last little tip. Do not forget about your coursework. Are test grades and quiz grades important? Yes. And do those things carry more weight often? Absolutely they do. But one little tip in making sure that final average is where you want it to be, don't forget about the small assignments. Don't forget about your homework. Do those things, because those smaller incremental assignments oftentimes can help you get over that hump, can help get you into that average category that you want to be in. Okay, having a good grade or a good average is not just about keeping you from being grounded. However, sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we're not able to study, and if you're trying to put all your eggs in one basket and just hope you make an A on a test to try to bring an average up, that's not always going to work. Don't forget about and pay attention to those smaller incremental coursework, things like homeworks or things like classworks. Little grades you get along the way actually can make a difference in the end. All right, hopefully these things help. This is just my introduction to being successful in school. Check out the other videos and make sure that you're watching study tips, study methods, and really dial in on how am I preparing for these assessments.